Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Design Recharge. I'm really excited to have my friend Tim Frame on. He's wicked good and really, really nice. And I'm wearing a Tim Frame today, and so is Tim. And if you like Ohio, you will love Tim Frame because he loves Ohio too.
I'm stuck here pretty much.
You do get out though, because I've seen you in Georgia. So
yeah, once or twice a year.
Yeah. So, Brian also likes the robot. And so this was like a thing you did for Cotton Bureau, right? Or you did it and then you sold it on Cotton Bureau.
Yes. And I printed a different version on a couple different shirts. So,
well, I love mine. I did not know. I had never ordered from Cotton Bureau. I didn't know. This is a medium. And it's pretty small. And I was like, man, a medium for a kid? Like it's
I thought they made the head too big. And so when they posted the thing on the site, the robot head looked really big in comparison to the scale of the shirt. And so I shot him an email and said, I think that head looks a little bit too big. And it's like, oh, that's just the mock-up. It won't look like that in real life. It's pretty huge.
I usually tell kids, like, for women who are endowed, you need to kind of have it fit within like a 7-inch space. But it is a little big, but we can robot it because there's nothing happening to my chest there. So, all right. So now we'll get really started. Normally we start with background. So Tim, give me a little bit about your background and how and when you decided that you wanted to do design.
I was kind of naive about as far as what career opportunities there were. I mean, I always loved to draw as a kid and make stuff. And when I got to high school, I took an art class. I don't know what possessed our teachers to do this, but they decided to give us.
Oh, boogers. Boogers. I know. What is FTW? I know you maybe can't say that. I don't know. I am so not good for the win. Oh, thank you. I was like, whew, my mom watches, so I don't want it. Anyway, boogers, this stinks. This isn't like Kent. This is like your first time, and Courtney, it doesn't normally happen like this. I'm so sorry. I mean, sometimes it's me that goes away, but okay.
And I'm back.
And high school, and you don't know why they did this, but the teachers. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? He can't see me. Boogers. Refresh. Tim. Can't no thing. Can you refresh? Oh no. Come on, please. Jesus. Here we go. Tim, nothing. I can hear you sniffing. Can you guys hear me? Can somebody? Okay. Yes, so it's Tim. Let me text him since this seems to be great. Hopefully I don't think he can see me. Refresh. Tim. Please. I should have written please first. Oh, there he's getting it though, right? We're seeing each other. I can see and hear you, but you couldn't see or hear me. Okay. Sorry, man. This is sucky. Sorry. Thank you. Okay, now?
Well, I don't know at what point I got cut off, so.
Okay, I do. I remember.
Right.
So you were talking about you don't know why your high school teachers did?
They gave us an assignment to create an advertisement, and then it just sort of clicked that, this was a viable career opportunity. And I went to college mainly to play football. Like at that point in time, that's all I cared about. And so I just knew I wanted to major in something art related. So if the school had football and an art program, I was good to go. And this is a little embarrassing to tell now, but it's been so long ago that I'll tell it. But I could have gone to Dartmouth on a football scholarship, but they told me I would have to take math in summer school. And so I said, no, thank you.
That's
I'll
hilarious.
go elsewhere. I'll pay my own way to school. No summer school first. And the summer school and math were like two words I didn't want to hear. Yes.
So where did you go?
I don't think I ever clued my parents in on that conversation. I went to Morehead State.
Oh,
Phil Simms of the Giants was their most famous grad.
so what position did you play? Did you get to play?
Yeah, I actually walked on and got a scholarship. I played wide receiver and defensive.
I was a lineman. I'm just kidding. I wasn't. I went to Auburn. Can you hear me? You froze again. Boogers. I can hear you though. We can hear you. It just says poor internet signal. So football was really important in my decision to go to school too. Isn't that funny?
It is.
But not because I was playing.
Just go because they had a good team.
Because I grew up going to Georgia games every weekend. And so I wanted football was a big part of like just life. And my family is really big into football. And so anyway, this isn't about me. Let's get back to you.
Okay.
We can talk about me when me and you are alone at Creative South. I mean, you know what? Anyway. All right. So you did this advertising thing in high school and you got the bug or what?
It just told me that I could pursue, I should start looking for a school that had design, or it was actually called commercial art when I was in college.
Right. So, okay. So you go to school and you do 4 years or did you do a 5 year? Oh, you're back.
I did 5 years. I got a redshirt year. So I actually did like graduate classes my last year.
Oh, my 5th year, I did more undergraduate classes because I got to go to 5 seasons.
Well, graduate classes were undergraduate classes with a different number. Just a higher number.
Right. All right. So you really like the hands-on, and I think as an undergrad, you were able to do a lot of hands-on kind of work, right?
Yeah, I think I told you in our conversation the other day. I was really torn between wanting to be a designer and an illustrator. Mm-hmm. So obviously, illustration is very hands-on. But at the point that I went through school, it wasn't before computers, but before computers were being used for graphics and design. And so it was all hand skills. I mean, we used repeating-graphs and French curves and cut ruby lith and did paste up and all that fun stuff.
So you still kind of like doing that now, right?
Yeah,
maybe not the ruby lith.
Yeah, I've gotten back to some more traditional.
Oh, did you freeze? Oh, buggers. Sounds like what I started with. Should I tell him to refresh? I'm sorry, I'm still coughing. Buggers. I'm just gonna text him. Anyway, I'm so sorry, guys. I'll just have to have him on when there's better internet. Anyway, but thanks for hanging in. I think, is that you, Abby? CMYKC? I know I should remember. Okay, good. Okay, so here's some other questions I'm going to ask him, but he does a ton of stuff. He's really good with Illustrator, but he also does, his logo style is so good. Let me close this other window so that I can I'm going to quit that. So I'm going to show you guys some of the things. If you aren't familiar, clearly he does robots, which I like. Tim is cool. Jason says he gave me a few books. Oh, that's awesome. So check this one out. So you could click that link over there. This is his. And if you also are watching this later, you can right under the video on my website, rechargingyou.com. It's Town Bakery. It's the Town Bakery logo. He's pretty sweet. Had him as awesome, Sherilyn. Well, thanks for coming. That's super nice. He seems like he's really chill. The other day, I was like, oh, Tim, do you ever get like anything ever make you anxious or stressed? Because he just doesn't seem like he ever gets stressed out, like really chill. And he was like, I'm sure some things do. Like he even took that long to think about it. And I was like, oh, that is so funny. Like I get so anxious over things and I just move like my mom can attest to this. I'm just kind of like a lot of different places. Anyway, so people who are joining for the first week, usually my guest doesn't like disappear and I have to talk like loner here, but we'll have him back. Anyway. Anybody else want to come on and talk to me while we wait for Tim? Anybody? Well, I can tell you, I met Tim at Creative South last year. And anyway, we're kind of waiting for Tim to come back. And hopefully, Jeremy, at least you've seen this so you know that I'm usually not having to talk this much. So good to see you. And Robert, good to see you. He's the illustrator with no filter. Sweet. Okay. Anyway, I don't really know what to talk about. Like, he's super cool. Let me show you some more of his images. Here's Toledo. He really does love Ohio. And it'll be like, could you tell us about these? And then he has his own t-shirt company, Timothy, and it's Tim. Thank you, Derek. I appreciate it. Oh, and just so you know, volunteer tickets for Creative South, there are still a few left. Still need some spots. And if you haven't bought your regular ticket, like Derek, Friday, I think maybe you haven't bought your regular ticket and maybe you're still deciding. But those tickets are way discounted. And I have a special code and you can email me and I can send you the code if you would like to be a volunteer. And you have to work for 4 hours. Anyway. He said, no, he hasn't, but he's planning on being there. It does save you a good. And Lenny says there is some workshops still available. I know we still have a few spots in ours, more than a few, but that's good. We're good for that. I think a lot of them haven't really filled. So I definitely want you guys to go, but some are really close to being full. So make sure you go there. And I'm going to go ahead and write in the link. I think it's just Creative South GA dot. Oh, boogers. I just wrote Creative GA. It's because I'm trying to talk and type and I'm not good at that. .com/workshops. And if Brian Yan was here, he'd be typing it all for me because he does everything. And he's volunteering. There's a lot of cool people volunteering. You know why I like to volunteer? Because it lets you give back. But you also get to meet a ton of people. And that's what I think Creative South is so cool about for and with, Anyway, I'm just like talking to myself. Granted, I've done this for a lot of years. My mom can attest to that also. Who is in here? That's Elaine Gibbs. She's the green egg. If you look up there, like that's my mom. Which I think is super sweet that she comes every week. Anyway, we love football. I know some people, like Lenny doesn't really like football. And my mom's really the sports fanatic in our family, to be honest. So my sister went to Duke because she's wicked smart. And she's going to be on next week. So with me, so you get to see, we both have like dark brown hair. I mean, like, look at our eyebrows, people. But we both have a lot of gray, me more than her. And I'm younger. So make sure you tell her that when you meet her. Oh, you must be her older sister. Okay. I'm just kidding. You don't have to say that. You could talk like this. Yeah, I don't think this was. I know we have people like falling off. They're just waiting for Tim to come back, and I sure hope he does. I made it for my sister. Yeah, my sister. That logo that I posted. Anyway, I posted on a Slack channel. Then you could get a skit. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yay, Tim's back. Can I fill the void? Probably. Please, Lord Jesus. Oh, we see you.
I'm just going to.
You're gonna what?
Phone.
Are you in the bathroom?
No, I'm just looking at my phone.
I'm just playing. It was like the ceiling fan.
Yeah,
I was just playing.
This episode has plenty of bathroom breaks.
I'm sorry. I had Mexican for lunch.
Maybe just one long one.
Well,
right, I'm gonna hit my phone, so we should be fine.
Oh, yay. Okay. So let's talk about working hands-on and something that, so do you have a preference? And I showed some of your work. So I showed like the Town Bakery and Toledo and the Timothy. Did I post the Timothy? I'm not sure if I did. You want to give us a little bit about why you like to do hands-on things now, maybe?
I think it's, part of it is just having been on the computer, doing everything on the computer for so long. And then, you can literally go for weeks or months or maybe even longer and not have a physical thing to see to show for your work.
Right.
I actually did like letterpress and silkscreen in high school.
Did you do any of that in college either?
No. No. So
do you remember?
I'd already kind of had the experience with doing it, and it's like I said, I've always liked to design stuff and make stuff, and I can design. I've worked in retail for a long time, so I can design stuff that gets built, but it doesn't make sense to design stuff that you have to rely on somebody else to make, or other processes or things like that. So I just kind of gotten back into things that are relatively affordable and don't take a lot of time and a lot of money, and
but that look great.
Thank you.
So you started out, your first job was like production. You worked there for a little over a year, you said. Yeah. So that was something that, at first you're like, oh, it's production, and you're not really able to do your own kind of thing or conceptually create anything. But in a way, it was a real advantage, because then after you left that, you kind of knew how to make things so that people could build them, right?
Right. And it was primarily a lot of paste up work, but it was like, especially like, it was pretty tricky when you had to do multiple colors and you were doing like paste ups for multiple colors. And so, if you didn't do something correct, the art director would come back. And so you'd learn from your mistakes, or you'd have to ask questions to be able to get things right. And I don't know whether it was in school or early on or whatever, but I sort of learned that, and when I teach, I reinforce this to students too. It's like, once it goes to the printer, if it's a print job, it's either 100% right or it's 100% wrong. If there's a period missing or an extra word space, or, like the wrong photo or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's, it's a big problem. I think part of it too, I was more perfectionistic, maybe a little bit than I am now, but it does, it helps you design with the end in mind. And when you deal with different processes or techniques or whatever, you learn like that adds cost to the project, it add time to the timeline. add expense, those type of things. And then the other, so the other thing is that I think it helps you frame is that, if you, well, obviously, you can't design something it's going to be too expensive to produce or take too long to produce, or it's going to be too heavy to mail, or you can't do thermography or whatever because it's going to end up going through a laser writer, just all kinds of things like that. But the other thing is, you always kind of want to push for the best possible solution, and it also I think helps you figure out, okay, if I can't do it this way, is this design, is there a way to scale it back and without, totally watering down the concept or what the final piece is going to look like.
Right.
And then, when you do stuff for yourself, at least I have to be frugal. So it's a good way to figure out, how to make the most out of what you have to work with, I think.
Absolutely. I think a lot of your designs work really well with one or two colors, and it's really that kind of paper color, or that really helps to play a role, right?
I think another thing that really influenced that is, I think it was my third job out of school. I worked for a small design firm, and we had a lot of small business type clients, and really the bulk of the projects were, I would say the majority of the projects were like two color. So you learn how to stretch, or two colors plus black, and just kind of learn how to stretch that.
Well, now, you can do so much stuff printing online, and it can be four color and digital. Do you think that you would be a different designer if you started today with those kinds of?
I think I would, because, and how it gets done, or what it gets printed on, or whatever the technique is. I don't think a lot of designers consider that part of the actual, that can be a huge difference in the design. Like, for example, I'm, finally about to get some decent business cards printed.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to get them engraved. And like, the design of my card is nice, but it's like, and I've got some, just quick turn cards, right, and it's just flat gloss, one color, whatever, that look okay. But like, the difference when this gets engraved is just going to be night and day. So I think, doing a lot of print work early on, and I was actually fortunate enough to work with a printer who he owned his own printing company, but he had actually started out as a pressman. Mm-hmm. And he could literally like figure out, and like, he would tell me stuff that I would never even think to do. It's like, I didn't know you could tint a varnish instead of like, if you you can't find an exact Pantone color that's a light color, whatever, it's like you can actually tint a varnish to make it transparent, and just, and he actually, all the, like the early Knob Creek labels and stuff that Duffy designed, he actually, that had like multiple foils and all, like all kinds of crazy stuff. He was the one that figured out how to get that, done. So I think, working with somebody like that. And again, when I first started out, everything was, it was pretty much print. So learned a lot about that.
I think learning from those people who have had to figure it out and had to problem solve, I think is a really good benefit. And that's what pushes the industry forward. And I think it's great that we can print 4-color really cheaply now. But I also love 2-color, or I love, I have the choice of printing my new sketchbooks that I'm making. I have it printing it, or just doing it on like a laser, whatever. And I was like, I think I just want it printed, because if they're stuck in the sun too long, they'll like peel off. There's all those kind of aspects, I think, that are great, but they also kind of take away from the quality. So I'm excited to see your engraved cards.
I know when, the printing industry's been through a lot, but it's hard to find. It's hard to find anybody with a two color press anymore. I mean, it used to be everyone had like a two color Heidelberg, you know.
Right.
And to tell you how good this guy was that I worked with that had his own printing company, he would actually print four color, before he got a four color press, he would print four color jobs on a two color press and match dot for dot. I
Yeah.
mean,
That's good craftsmanship for sure.
yeah, definitely.
Our university press used to do that, and they would print everything, and you couldn't tell. I mean, they were really good, but it was, anyway. So you've been in business for a while, and you've done a lot of different things. What would be some advice, since we're kind of thinking about some of the things that maybe me and you have done because of budgets, because of how it used to be? What advice would you tell some younger designers? I'm sure you have some,
I mean,
right?
if you can figure out, well, I mean, it's a lot of different avenues to that question, but if you can figure out the type of work that you want to do, I mean, you have to have it in your portfolio to get that kind of work. Um, I like doing packaging, but um, I've I've done some where it was actually tied into bigger projects, but people don't typically call me for a packaging job because I just haven't done much of it. I did do a project, recently. So once you get some experience and get those types of things that you want to do in your portfolio, can start to open some doors. But even like with season, just to give you an example, one of my favorite designers is Dan Simon, who does a lot of the minor league baseball team identities. And so I've corresponded with him, you know, um, from time to time, and he took out an ad in the workbook, like one of the years that I was participating, took out an ad, and we were kind of comparing notes on how we did or whatever, and he did not get a single job from his workbook page. I mean, I know that sounds just insane, but he had put all baseball logos that he had done, and people couldn't make the leap between
Mm.
you know doing something, his skill, applying those skills to some other type of business. I mean, that's the other thing that that's both sort of positive and negative with me, is that a lot of my work has a strong style, and so I get so people see that, and I get contacted to do job do work that's consistent in that style, but then I don't think a lot of people know or realize that I can, I can design for the audience. I can do stuff that totally doesn't look anything like, what I typically do.
Right. So I think, are you kind of saying that if you want to do some different things, start putting some of that other stuff out there, either on Dribble or on
Yep.
any of those other locations, so that people can get an idea of some of the other work that you can do or that you want to do?
Yep. I guess that, the other, as far as like young designers, and I think anybody that's been in the business for any length of time will tell you this. You always have clients that don't pay. That there are people out that are just, their sole purpose is to take advantage of whoever they can. Is I would never work without a contract.
Right.
And I say that, and I still
work without a contract sometimes.
I'm still guilty of that. And then I would, I'd ask for part of the money up front, for deposit or retainer. And then the other thing is that, and when I teach, I tell students this, but you own your art. Whatever you do for someone else, you own the rights to that artwork, unless they're transferred in writing, or you accept payment for it or whatever. So, the worst case, if you have a contract is that you not get paid, but you do have recourse. And I've actually started recently, like actually copyright registering stuff because it's just it's happened one too many times, and it's only like 30, depending on if it's published or unpublished, what type of work it is, it's like $35 to $55 to register something.
Hmm.
And then you have the full backing. I mean, you have the rights whether you copyright it or not, but you have the full backing of the government and the copyright law if you go through the copyright process.
Right.
So Vaughn's actually schooled me a little bit on that process.
Yeah, I would love to have a copyright attorney on here sometime, and I've actually searched and I found some, and I think I found another one that I am able, because I have so many questions.
Good luck getting an attorney that wants to do it for free.
Well, I have a friend who's an attorney in California, and he's been on my show, and he's kind of given just general advice, but he really likes social media, and so and he's super well known, but he's just really, really nice. So, Lenny, I will take you up on anybody that you have. So Jason Karn has a question. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up, and then we'll get back to mine. But I always like to get to people's questions first. And you could, if you have a question, you can just kind of put it in the chat, or you can do what Jason did and do a Q and then a / and you do a slash, and then it'll come up over in the side. So it'll look a little different. So it says, do you start your projects on paper, or are you working digitally from the beginning?
No, always on paper. I mean, there's an occasion where, like I might get an idea when I'm on the computer and it's like shape-based or something that's, but that's the exception rather than the rule. It's always on paper. And that's part of the process that I like. And
right.
there's just, it's, and I can see where, younger designers and generation that's coming up having done everything digitally, to where they can probably do that same process, especially now that you have tablets and iPads and whatever that you can sketch on. So I think I think that's a viable way to do things, particularly if you're just sketching on screen or whatever. But I still do it pen and paper.
So Kent, who I met this weekend, who's super great, he says, how do you get your students to start on paper as well? Because I also have that issue with them.
You just demand it. I mean, then I show them, I tell them this. It's like when I have a logo project, I will have at least 5 pages of thumbnails, like with very little white space left, and it takes me at least that much to get the number of good concepts that I need and to work through concepts. And I literally, to get that much work out of students, I have to say a minimum of X number of sketches. And that's, it's not different ideas. It can be just explorations of a few good ideas, or anything comes to mind. Just get it down on paper.
So do you think it's important for them to work proportionally? I hope none of my students are watching then if you answer differently than me.
I'm not sure what you...
So if you're doing a poster and it's 18 by 24, and they're sketching it in a square, do you think that's a problem?
Actually, like if I'm doing thumbnails for like an editorial spread or something like that, I'll actually just print out a page of little rectangles that are proportionate,
mm-hmm.
And then work on that so that
that's what I do too.
Fairly proportionate.
That's what I make them do too. So I'm glad. Good answer. That's the right.
I don't work at full size ever.
No, little bitty, but on the computer. Yeah, little bitty, so that I've just found that they end up drawing something and then they have either all this extra space, or it was supposed to be square and they drew it in a rectangle, and now there's no room for everything that they had drawn in.
Yeah.
But I also think that I give them time in class. Do you give them time in class to kind of do their sketches?
Yep. I mean, even when, after lecture or go over the start of a project, they'll have time. They'll have time, usually, you know, close to half of the class, and then they usually have a full class in between before when their stuff gets reviewed, and then again another day of full class before they have a critique or whatever.
So Lenny, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm good. I'm done.
Lenny says that they have a professor there that requires 100 sketches per logo from his students. Do you think that that's a lot or just a little? And then I'm going to get to Derek's question.
It wouldn't be a lot for me.
It wouldn't be, or it would be?
I mean, as a professional, it wouldn't be a lot for me.
Right.
Like I said, but if it's the thing that's kind of funny, if I require them to do 50 thumbnail sketches, they will do I mean, some of them won't do 50, and then some of them will do exactly 50 and no more. They actually like number out the sketches as they do them. So, and it's just like, I don't think that way. I just, it's kind of like a brain dump to where I just, I don't do it all in one sitting either, but I'll just go until I completely run out of ideas or, just feel I've hit a wall or something.
And I do think it's important that you don't do all those sketches in one sitting. I think that that's good for us too. But sometimes in the professional setting, it's like, we got to have this. But even if something's like that, I'll still do a couple of sketches just because it still helps me think. I can think much quicker on paper than I can on screen. I had a friend who's another professor, and he said, okay, you think you can do it just as fast as I can on paper? He said, okay, we're going to sit down and we're going to give each other 5 minutes and we're going to see how many you can come up with in the computer. And I'm going to do however many I can do on paper. And it was amazing how many more my friend Ben was able to do than his student. And it kind of taught them, hey, you're right. I can think a lot faster.
Well, plus I think if you're doing it, if you're doing it on the computer, unless you're sketching on a tablet or something, that you're going to limit yourself to the tools that you're good with and,
right,
techniques that and stuff like that. And so you're making decisions with the software that aren't really necessarily, relevant or creative or whatever.
Right. So Derek has a question. He says, are there any other creative disciplines you admire that somehow inform and inspire your work?
I like, industrial design, architecture. I think I appreciate all the different design fields.
Is there anybody in particular that kind of stands out to you as always kind of a inspiration? Or
from another field or from my field?
Either one.
Michael Durrett's kind of always been my hero. He was kind of at one of the high points of his career early on when I was in college, and his work was on Time covers, and he's just like, I think he's the best at like both design, composition, hand lettering, and illustration. If you look at his, he's on Behance and posts like one of his sketches he's got this great series of sketches he did for the New York Knicks logo. And a lot of the concepts, that didn't get used are, even better than the ones that they're using. But
absolutely. All right. So one thing I also love about some of the stuff, and I'm going to share one of these now, is that you do a lot of the lettering as well. Oops, boogers. Okay, now I got it. So like the Stebbins, I don't know how to say it.
That's my alma mater.
All right. So, that one's all hand drawn, but so many of the ones that you've done have done that. And that is something that you really do so well.
I just, I'm just real picky about type. And if I can't find something,
right.
A lot of times, stuff that I drew isn't exactly what I'm looking for. So I might use a font or certain strokes, from an existing typeface as a sort of a basis to start with. But I think just not, kind of not being satisfied with the status quo.
Yeah. All right. So do you have a Boston Terrier because your spirit animal is?
He's in heaven now.
Oh, well, he's got a good master, right? He's up there with you.
I will get another dog as soon as my situation allows. But
So when did he go be with Jesus, or she?
I think about 2 years ago. It was a he. About 2 years ago.
Well, that's the image I just did. You've done like hats and T-shirts and stuff. So what was this dog's name?
Mojo.
Mojo. I love that. So you do these illustrations. You do tend to, it seems like you have your sense of humor kind of comes out, especially just in naming that your spirit animal. I think that's pretty funny. But one of your students or your alumni now, she said it was Sherilyn. Let me get her last name. Yep. Juris.
Yep.
She's in here. So she's watching. She said that I said, when you were gone, before to the bathroom, getting your phone, she said that I was like, he just seems really chilled out. And he doesn't really get really upset about much. Remember I asked you that about that on the phone. And, she said she knew she should have stayed quiet. Anyway, she said you were really nice, but you were not anymore.
No, I am. But you don't want to. It's like you don't want to get to the point. It doesn't want to get to the point where I'm not chill. There's just too. There's no middle ground, I guess.
Well, that's good. I'm probably chill enough. So when you're working, do you do anything that kind of gets you in the moment, or what do you do when you hit like creative block? Do you go outside? Do you go? What gets you back in the zone?
Yeah, I think it's just like taking a break. I think like exercise can help. I don't often like think about this stuff until after I've done it for several years or whatever. But I realize, I consistently do like my best work like in church, and which helps me pay attention in meetings, and like places where I'm not actually supposed to be drawing or sketching or whatever. And I sort of realized that it's like there's no pressure for me to, it's like I'm not in a scheduled time frame where I have to come up with something. And so I think just being able to, do it without any expectations.
Right.
And I think it also helps too. I mean, I think you can alleviate some creative block by like, as soon as, even if you're working on something else, as soon as you get wind of a new project or whatever, to spend some concentrated time just like doing a little bit of research and thinking about it, and letting your subconscious kind of work on it for you. And I also think it just sort of gives you a sense of kind of what to be on the lookout for in the back of your mind. So, like if you didn't spend that time, you probably wouldn't notice some things that you might come across that are relevant.
Right.
To the project that you're going to be working on. And I think I told you this too, like especially for like identity projects and stuff, I'll have to do, at least in some classes, I'll have to do the background information and sort of create the creative brief for clients and do whatever level of research is required. And, it's like, I have no inclination to work on those projects or whatever, but like, almost every time I give a project like that, just like out of nowhere, I'll get this great idea for this project that I have no interest in. I'm not going to touch, it's completely for someone else. But just because I spent that amount of time, having to do the background work on it, my subconscious is really at work on my behalf.
it's solving it for you in that background. So Matt says drawing while you're driving. Am I right? I think is what he was saying. And I have a pad of paper in the car, and I have a pad of paper almost everywhere in my house. I have paper that I can draw on, except the shower. But I have a door, and I told you that. Like it's foggy. I can just draw on that. Sometimes I'll take my phone and take pictures of some of the things I've created.
Yep.
Yeah. So you also have Right Way. So this was yeah. Ooh, that's a good idea, Johnny. He said design recharge notepads. So the Right Way one is what was so that's a media company?
No, actually, and this is somebody that's worth following on Instagram. It's from Right Way Signs in Chicago. It's, I believe it's the son of the father who started the business. So it's a sign company that's been around forever, and they do have like digital capabilities and stuff, but they're sign painters. He did a Kickstarter for them where basically the incentives were great. I think if you paid $100, you got like a hand painted show card of whatever you wanted.
Wow.
And it was, so anyway, like printers, I guess sign painters have a lot of people that walk through the door who need a sign, but just don't have a clue about branding, or, it's like they know
Right.
they need a sign, but it's like they don't have a logo. They don't, they have no clue about marketing. So that was sort of a, part of the business that he wanted to, to brand and grow as a service to clients who, walk through the door and need some sort of signage, but really need a whole lot more.
So a lot of your, like with the Rich Way, it looks like you did the type it with that as well, right?
Yep.
So a lot of these are brands, and really you can see in some of these the Stebbins.
Mm-hmm.
That one looks really different than the Rich Way. And then this red cast, this one's just rocking awesome. There's two of them, but this one kind of where it looks like it's sound coming up. I love that one.
Was that the sort of dimensional one, or the one that looks like a speaker? Like an old radio speaker?
There's two of them. I'm posting them both right now. So the first one sort of looks like a speaker, maybe. Let me see what the other one. I thought the other one was a little flatter. Yeah. I mean, it looks more like yeah, one's a speaker. I guess the speaker is my favorite one. I think that's
an example of like taking on a project, basically as a portfolio piece. Because it was fun, and like I've never done any music stuff, but these guys, and they were like literally either in high school or right out of high school, real young, and they wanted like a logo and some stuff that they could use as like stickers.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually gave it as a class project first, and like there was a number of good solutions, good concepts, but it was like a sophomore level class where they'd not done logos before and so forth. And there wasn't anything that was quite, to the level of execution that it needed to be.
Right.
So, it was one of the things where it was just like, I had a lot of, had a lot of ideas, just from the get-go. And, again, I don't get contacted to do any music stuff, so I just thought it would be fun to do that and have that in my portfolio, and so.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so then Oklahoma is totally different, but again, you did all the type stuff, I'm assuming. Let me show them that.
That was actually I've spent, before I just started doing my own consulting, I spent the majority of my career working for retail design firms,
mm-hmm.
Which was kind of cool because it usually revolved around a store design. So it was like, all the communication, in-store communications and stuff. But a lot of times it was like a rebrand along with that. So it was identity and sometimes packaging and the whole like in-store programs. It was kind of nice because you got to do the whole, you had a whole complete like retail graphics program that,
Right.
That was yours. I still do work periodically for the last firm that I worked for and who my son-in-law actually works for in Columbus. And that was actually, they had APHIS, which is, if you've known anybody in the military, live near a military base, there's a base exchange where basically, because a lot of times those bases are like out in the middle of nowhere. So you either drive 100 miles to go to Walmart or you go to the base exchange. So they got the project to completely redo, like these huge base exchanges and do like sub-branding of, different departments and all that kind of stuff. So that was actually sort of for like a souvenir type area.
Mm-hmm.
It was just part of the signage program for the area within that.
So, all right. So there was a spammy link in there, so I made sure to get rid of it. Sorry. Yes. Sorry about that, guys.
Spammy like promoting something of yours, Diane?
No. Somebody put something in the chat and it was like, is this you, Tim? And then, so yeah, that really stinks. We're going to go just a little over. No, you can't go over because you have a meeting.
What time is it? I can go until, what time is it? 3:30?
Yes, your time.
I mean, I can go for probably another 15 minutes.
Okay. Then that way we can get a little bit more. I want to go through a couple more. So the Ohio.
Make up my dead air time.
Yeah, I know. The time when I was having to talk to myself. Sorry about that. And I'm sorry about the spammy thing. I was like, I should get rid of that. And then I didn't quick enough. So anyway, so here is the Ohio, which you have on, right? Yes.
Yes.
So one thing with this one and then the next one I'm going to show, you have this kind of link. The M kind of links from behind the parts of the M that I'm going to show in a second. But now the Ohio, the O and the H, it kind of has this really kind of neat kind of tie-in, kind of a hug in a way, I guess, which an O actually does, but maybe not always exactly like this. I love this stuff.
Thank you.
Somebody, Derek wants to know, Costantinos wants to know, love the Ohio stuff. Did you license to or work with these? I don't know what the homage.
That's a different, like, if you look at the two, and some people do confuse them because they're both Ohio script. But if you look at theirs next to mine, it's like the letters are huge and chunky, and they almost look like they're handwritten. They're really fat. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of the same idea, but like if you look at them side by side, they're very different. Gotcha. So I actually have these in a couple of retail stores in Columbus that sell. Basically, they sell a lot of things by Ohio artists.
Oh, cool! And you have these on sale at the Timothy.
I don't. I do have them. I have them in stock, but since I've got them in 3 stores,
right.
I'm just kind of letting them sell that way, and it's easier to keep track of.
Gotcha. No problem. All right. So then you have this M that you did, and I can't remember. Mercurity?
Yes. That was actually for, I think it was kind of a startup venture capitalist backed thing, but it was sort of a more sophisticated version of Ticketmaster. It was like the easiest way. It was Mercury Concerto was the full name.
So one thing I really liked that when we were talking before, you seem to have a really good network of designers. And I know I met you at Creative South, and you came to that, and Creative South is a really good network of a lot of other designers and illustrators. So how has this affected, and I know you go to church with Danielle Evans, so you have a lot of really good like visual food to eat, right? So how do you think that affects you and your work?
I mean, it's great and humbling. I mean, there's just, I mean, I think all of us are in awe of a lot of different, designers who are much better, at least much better at other things than we are. So it's definitely like inspirational. It's also good too, because when you're working on your, like when you're working on your own, you're kind of in isolation. And it's one of the things that I noticed after like working on my own for a while and then going back and working in house with the retail firm that I worked at, is just like, it's so cool to be around other designers and, have somebody there, and there'd be a whole social aspect to work. So I think for, for people who work independently or whatever, there's, unless you go to professional organization meetings and conferences and stuff like that, there's definitely the social media connection, but not a whole lot, maybe not a whole lot outside of that.
Yeah. So, what about, let's see, what's another one that I want to show this one because I just think this is, Johnny Gwen, you'll like this one. Or I think you will, but, it's the Johnny football one.
Yeah.
So I love that one. Again, you did the type.
I did that at a conference in a meeting. Yep.
That's awesome. All right. So any other one? I really liked I love this one, the indie pop.
That was actually part of the Redcast.
Oh, cool.
That was how they described their genre of music, as being indie pop rock.
Cool. All right. Let's see.
You have these, you have these things like bottle caps and things. It's like, oh, I'd love to do like, you just wait for the opportunity to come along, and it's like this, like those really crude looking typefaces of like wood, like really crude wood letters. I love that, but I'm still waiting for the opportunity.
Right.
to come along to use one of those.
All right. So what about Clutch?
Actually, when I first went into business, I was going to name my design firm Clutch Design, except I forgot to renew the URL and I lost it. And so
I
have all these other useless URLs that, like Feral Barn Cat or whatever, that I always remember to renew, but that one got away from me.
That stinks. So this one's the games one, is the one I'm sharing now. So again, what I'd like to definitely note is that you just have such a range. It's not like you just do one thing. You do a lot of different things, and this is a definite example of just different, the way your type is and just the way it looks. Might not always.
That was like an overall branding concept for Mattel for their games.
Mm-hmm.
So they have like, a little tiny logo on all their game packaging.
Cool. All right.
The other thing, like going back to like advice to young designers or whatever, it's like you have to live with the fact that, at least in my case, the majority of my best work will never see the light of day.
And because I was coughing, I'm sorry.
And so you have to just really love it for the, love it for the process and the opportunity to do it, and being satisfied with with doing your best, regardless of whether or not it gets used. And that's another thing I notice with students and young designers is that they'll work on a project at an internship or freelance or something that just gets the art, just gets beat to death by the art director, to where it's not actually it's not as good as the other work in their portfolio, but since it actually got printed, it's like, we're going to put it in there because it's a printed project. And, where it actually is kind of a detriment when it's, it's not as good as maybe anything else that they've done.
I think you show that really well on your site, which is Tim Frame Design. It'll have like the logo maybe that was chosen and then some other options or
If I put only the logos that got used, I'd have like a 2-page site.
But I think that's nice that you can show other options. You show one that was used, and then you have some smaller ones, which is showing hierarchy, but it also shows your thinking. And I think that that's a really important thing for designers to do, is to show that thought process.
That's what I really love, seeing that part of it from other designers. And it's also sort of reassuring too, to know that, it's like there are designers that just can sit down and knock it out and have it be perfect, almost initially, but most of us go through several rounds. It's like I think tracing paper is like the greatest invention ever. And I tell my students, it's like, it takes, and I showed them one project where it's not in the mix there, but it's on the website. It's called Grace Haven. It's got like a dove and a bird's nest. I literally drew, like, I really had to sketch, I bet it was like close to 100 variations of that nest, which is like four branch, it's like 4 branches. And it doesn't always take that long, but sometimes it does.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process of refinement. Not all of, I draw pretty well, but I don't draw as good as some other, people I know that they're just incredible, and can draw it like perfectly the first time. But you can't get discouraged and whatever if it doesn't turn out right the first or second time. It's just a process of editing and revising and re-looking at things.
Right, and it's having the eye. And I think that's what students really are getting their eye to learn how to fix things. And there are things that Bob Ewing sees in his type that I'm like, I don't even see that, man. It looks pretty good to me. But because he's been doing it and sitting with it so long that he sees it. And I think it's just time. They just need to spend more time making and doing.
Yep. The more you do, the better you get.
Absolutely. So I don't want to get you too close to time for your meeting, so I'm going to go ahead and share. So if people want to get some of your stuff, see some of your work on their bodies, they can do Timothy, which there is the link, TIM dash or hyphen whatever, O and then hyphen TEE.com. And then they can, there you go. I thought I had that picture, but I don't know. I don't see it. There you go. So are those coasters or stickers?
They're coasters.
Those super cool. So did you print multiples colors? Because I think the other one was like
if
blue.
anyone wants a coaster, they can email me with their address and I'll mail you one.
So they can get your email from
it's on there's a contact thing on the website.
On timframe.com?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's just tframe at timframe.com. So.
tframe at timframe.com. And then you can also follow him on Twitter at timframe. And then on Instagram, you can follow him at timframedesign. And I'm putting all these in the chat, but I'm saying them also because on YouTube, they can't see the chat. Oh, boogers. Oh, no, that's right. And then also you can follow him on Dribble, which Dribble, for anybody who doesn't know, has 3 B's. And why did the other one not go? Boogers. I must have copied a blank line. Let me make sure I get that Instagram one. There it is. It still isn't doing it. Weird. Anyway, at Tim Frame Design. Let me just copy this one little bit and see. I don't know why it's doing that. Are these people against? It just says at Design Recharge. That's weird. Anyway, it really says, I'm just going to type it. But all the others had it. Oh, well, I'm going to do at space Tim. I always want to type time. Sorry. Oh, boogers. Now it's messing up. Anyway, I can't. I'm such a bad typer and talker. There we go. At Tim Frame Design. So check him out. Get a t-shirt. Get a robot to wear. And I'm excited. I really like my shirt. So I'm glad you made a robot shirt that I could get. And I appreciate you doing a gray one too, even though I ended up not getting the gray one.
But you got the limited edition shirt.
I did. The big one.
Yeah.
Which giant, I love.
The giant robot shirt.
That's right. Anyway, Tim, I'm excited to see you in person again. I hope we get to eat lunch or dinner or something.
Definitely.
And anyway, follow him, guys. He's great, super humble, but wicked smart and really good at what he does.
Wicked funny too.
And funny, and definitely won't get frazzled like me. So he's good.
At least I won't show it.
Good to have around. So if you want to follow me, you can follow me at Diane or at Design Recharge, or at you can email me at diane@designrecharge.org or diane@rechargingyou.com. And I'm sure there's something else I'm forgetting. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Design Recharge. So next week I have my sister. It's going to be a rapid recharge, which last week wasn't so rapid. I think that was Lenny and me. I can't remember. But make sure you sign up for Creative South. You'll see Tim and me and a bunch of other people at Creative South. And if you'd like to volunteer, volunteer tickets, email me at diane@designrecharge.org. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next week. And I'm going to hit the thing.